Hello and welcome. We still have some people coming in, but if you are in our live audience, please take your seats. We are about ready to get started. For those of you who are at home, welcome. We are very excited that everyone is back for our second edition of this wonderful cooking class. Tonight we're going to be making Heidi's twist on a healthy version of Mexican, which will be really fun. And for those of you here in our live audience, I'm sure you smell it. It smells pretty delicious. Yeah? So we are, waiting for just a few other people. Michelle is monitoring our Facebook tonight, so if you are at home, if you have issues or if you have comments, please let us know, and she will be taking down your names, and we will go from there. So I guess we are at a point where, I don't know, you want to say something?
Yeah.
You have anything you want to say?
So welcome to the second series, part of the series for Cooking with Friends. So remember, we're presenting to the people here live and at home a plant-based or a whole foods plant-based diet. And so we're just, like we said last time, we've had an overwhelming response with that, and so many people are curious about this. We have a lot more people in the live audience tonight, which we're so blessed and grateful for, so thank you for being here. So we're meeting you where you are right now. You may be whole foods plant-based, you may be partially plant-based, you may be curious, but we're meeting you where you're at, and we hope to be that bridge to take you from where you are now and where you want to be. And that might not be a whole foods plant-based diet, but any step in that direction and forward progress is absolutely a wonderful step. So I will turn it back over to Sarah, and she'll do the introduction for this evening. Thank you.
Okay, Miss Heidi. She is aproning up and heading up here now, and she will need 5 audience participants. So if I can get 5 people that want to cook with us tonight, I'm going to meet you over by the kitchen, and we're going to wash hands and get you aprons and gloves. So do I have 5 people that want to cook tonight with us? Kids are fine, but we need 5 volunteers. Mom, and I think Hazel ran that direction. We'll take Miss Hazel. 3 other audience participants. No pumpkin. Miss Judy? No? Sean? Yeah, you guys want to go? All right, come on over. All right, we've got our 5 participants. Wonderful.
Do we still need Sean?
We do need Sean also, because that will be our 5. Wonderful. So if you all will head over to the kitchen, I'll get you all cleaned up and ready to go. Okay. All right, Heidi. Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm good to go. Okay. All right. Can you hear me now? Okay. So for the volunteers who are coming to help me cook, if you guys just want to be prepared, you can sit for a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit and then get started with some things. Then I'll call volunteers up to help make the different things we're working on. So you can sit down for a few minutes and I'll call you up in just a bit here. Thank you all for coming this evening. Tonight we're going to do my husband and I's favorite version of Mexican food. My husband loves Mexican food. And we came from a little different background, my husband Curtis and I. I grew up eating vegan, strict vegan, all my life. My parents went to Weimar Institute and they learned all about the New Start principles, which we're going to be talking about throughout this series. But they worked there, went to school there, and so I grew up with that environment of plant-based foods, cooking everything from scratch. I mean, we made everything from our own cheese sauce to our own bread, and everything was from scratch. So my mom taught me how to cook, and I'm very thankful for that. But my husband, he grew up eating vegetarian, but not vegan. So he had a lot of dairy in his diet, and as he got older as well, he also started eating some meat. And so when we met, he was not vegetarian, and I was 98% vegan, right? So before we got married, we talked about diet, because food is a big thing, right? And so I told him, I'm not willing to cook meat because I don't know how, and I don't really want meat in my kitchen. If you want to get it when you go out to eat, that's fine, but I won't cook it in my kitchen. He's like, okay, I'm fine with that. And then he said, but what about dairy? He's like, I'm not ready to give up cheese and all of that completely. I said, okay, that's fine. I can keep some cheese and some eggs and some butter in the fridge and learn to cook some of those things that you like too. So what we did is we tried to meet somewhere in the middle between our two diets. And he tasted my food before we got married, so he knew he liked what I cooked. But so we eat mostly vegan at home. I eat pretty much 100% vegan, but I'll still throw a little cheese on his pizza or some butter in his mashed potatoes for him. So we've just worked it out what works well for our family. And our big word is moderation. That word comes up in our home all the time. Moderation, not just in diet, but in life too, to have a balanced life. So we try to teach our kids that too. And with that moderation, self-control. So for example, my little girl, she has learned that she really likes cheese and ice cream, right? So what we do with that is, Dad eats a little cheese on his tacos, right? We'll sprinkle a little on her taco. She knows that, okay, cheese isn't the best for you, but we'll have a little bit every once in a while, right? She does that. And then ice cream. She loves ice cream. But she's learned to control herself too. We'll take her out for ice cream every once in a while as a special treat. And she won't even finish the cup that she gets, even the kitty cup. She'll be like, okay, I'm done. I've had enough. So she's learned that moderation and self-control. And so that's how it's working in our family. And I was really blessed because my husband, even though he didn't have the same diet as me, he was very health conscious, and he loves veggies, right? So he's willing to eat whatever I cook. 2, he loves veggies. I can put a plate of veggies out in front of him, and if I don't grab my portion first, they're going to be gone before I can sit down. So that's very helpful as well. But moderation and self-control. When we're sick, dairy is out, sugar is out, all of that. We eat completely the plant-based if anyone's sick in the house. So anyways, just a little background on us. But like I said, my husband loves Mexican food. And this meal that we're going to prepare tonight is, I think, a good transition meal for someone who's wanting to go from non-plant-based to plant-based, because it still has some of the favorite tastes and flavors. So it can be a good transition step. But I'm going to use a couple items that we use sparingly, but it helps to take that step from non-plant-based to plant-based. So we're going to start out today with the refried beans. And I used to just open a can, add a little water and seasoning, and make it that way, right? But then I got this Instapot. How many of you have an Instapot at home? Okay. They're awesome, aren't they? So if you're going to be cooking from scratch a lot, this is a really good investment to make. And when my husband picked this up for me, I looked through the recipe book that came along with it, and it had this amazing recipe for refried beans that's so simple and easy. So that's what we're going to start with tonight. And with this Instapot, I cook beans, bean soup, lentil soup, all sorts of things with it. And what it does is it cuts down my workload. I have 2 kids, 3 and 9 months. So I keep pretty busy with them. But I can put the beans in, do a couple steps, and it's done in an hour instead of waiting for 4 or 5 hours for my beans to cook. So if one of the volunteers wants to come up and help me with the refried beans, we'll start with that. I think, yes.
What type of beans do you start with?
Do I start with?
Yes, what type of beans do you start with to make your refried beans?
They're pinto beans.
Okay,
We'll go through
pintos,
all of those
okay,
steps,
cool.
yeah. So I think the avocado oil is in the kitchen. Would someone mind grabbing that for me? So the Instapot here has several different settings, and there's different ones, but I'm going to use the saute setting. So we'll turn it on and get it warmed up. And then this recipe has 1 tablespoon of oil, and you can use whatever kind you want. I chose to use avocado oil. Tonight I use extra virgin olive oil quite a bit in my cooking, but it gives like a stronger flavor. And this avocado oil has a more mild flavor. Again, though, if you have birds, don't use avocado oil. I don't have any birds, so it's safe. So we're going to put about a tablespoon in there. If you want to just drizzle it in, I'll tell you when. Okay. That's good. So a lot of recipes say let your oil heat up first. I don't usually have time to stop and do that. So I just dump the onions in, and this is 1 onion and the stems from 1 bunch of cilantro. I know that seems weird, and if you don't like cilantro, don't worry. You're not going to taste a strong cilantro flavor, but it just really helps the flavor of the beans. It makes them really tasty. So if you want to start stirring that up here. And your name? Nancy. Okay. Thanks for helping me today. So just a couple tips on cooking beans. I think I'm getting ahead of my notes here. These beans here are already pre-cooked. So how many of you make beans from scratch at home? Okay, quite a few of you. All right, so you can follow the directions on the bag of beans. It tells you how to pre-soak them. But these I pre-cook in the Instapot. 2 cups of dry pinto beans, 8 cups of water, and 2 teaspoons of salt. Then I put it in the manual mode and cook it for 4 minutes. Then when the time is up, I let it go to sit for 10 minutes and release the pressure. Then the beans are ready to be rinsed and used once your onions are sauteed. So, and that's pretty much the same method I use for just about any type of bean. Just pre-cooking them with a couple cups or 4 cups of water per cup of beans and a teaspoon of salt. And so I do black beans, garbanzo beans, navy beans, all of them. Yes.
How long do you pre-cook them?
To pre-cook them in the Instapot in the manual mode for 4 minutes.
And then you put them in later on when you're going to use them?
Yes, then we'll put them in again. Yeah, that's just the pre-cook process.
And how long does that take?
The cooking, we'll get to that here in just a minute. So we're sauteing these. I don't know if you can smell those flavors coming up yet, but we're going to add a couple spices to this. So we've got onions and cilantro stems sauteing, and then I'll let you add a 1/2 teaspoon of cumin and a 1/4 teaspoon of chipotle chili pepper. So those are right here. 1/2 teaspoon cumin, 1/4 teaspoon of chipotle chili pepper. And it's going to start smelling really good here in a minute. Okay. That's great. Yep. Yes.
Where does chipotle chili powder fall on the scale if you don't have that? Is it a hotter one or one of the milder ones?
I would say it's a little bit spicy. That's why there's just a 1/4 teaspoon. It will just give it a little kick. I sprinkle it on a lot of stuff when I'm making Mexican food just because I like that kind of smoky flavor of the chipotle. But And all the seasonings I'm using tonight, you can just get at Walmart or Kroger. It's just your basic seasonings. Thank you. If you want to just stir it up, and we're just going to saute it till the onions start to look a little clear. It's getting there. You smell that now? Smells good, doesn't it? I forgot another thing. I'm sorry. I need 2.5 cups of water. Or even just a quart jar filled with water, and we'll estimate. Yeah. Okay. So if you can see in the pot there, we've got the onions starting to get tender. Can you guys see? Or yeah. And those seasonings in there. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Just hit the cancel button so we don't overcook our onions. And then these pre-cooked beans, we'll just dump those in, stir it up a bit. And I'm going to add, so you can measure the water, but it's more by how it looks. I have made these so many times, and I've experimented with different amounts of water, because for me, dry refried beans is the worst. I like them thinner, a little bit more moist. So the recipe calls for 2 cups. I put more like 2.5. I like to get them covered well. But if you put too much in, then they're really runny. But the good thing is that they'll set up. So if you just put them in the fridge for a little while, the beans will get thick and you'll be fine. We'll add a little bit more to just cover these completely so that they won't be too dry. Now, if you're cooking on the stovetop, on the recipe I did give instructions for how to cook it on the stovetop. You'll have to experiment with your water, but you can cook the beans for like an hour and a half until they get tender, then drain off the water until it just barely covers it, and add your seasonings and sauteed onions and let it cook for a half hour or so. I think we're good here with our water level. Maybe just a tiny bit more. And then we'll put our lid back on. And put this in manual mode again. Let's see, I've got it all facing that way. I got to turn it around a minute. So you just want to make sure it's on the ceiling, on the top, and then we'll do manual for 12 minutes. So it's so nice that they're done. It will take more like a half hour by the time it comes up to heat, but all in all, I can make the beans in about an hour from the pre-cooking to the time they're ready. And so that's really nice to have a fast cooker for that. So just to make sure our power strips aren't overloaded and I have more room, would someone mind taking this to the kitchen? And then we can just set it manual for 12 minutes and let it go. Thank you. Any questions on the beans? Or thank you for helping me with that. Yes, she's saying I think spices are the key. I think that is true, especially as you're cooking plant-based and you may not have all the dairy products and things like that you might be used to. Learning how to flavor the food and get the right spices, because if food is flavorful, it's going to be good, right? So a lot of times I think things just get under-seasoned or not the right combination of seasonings, and then it will taste bland. But if you get the right seasonings in there, and it's going to spice it up good. So, all right, so we'll let those cook, and then after they're all cooked, we blend them up to get it to whatever consistency you want for the refried beans. So the next thing we're going to make is the taco filling. And I'm not going to call it taco meat because, well, when I was in college, I lived with 3 other girls, and none of them were vegan. But we all took turns cooking, and we would have people, because we all loved to cook, we'd have people over on Friday evenings. And so we would all help cook, and they would tell me, "What are you making?" And I learned to tell them, to not say I'm making fettuccine Alfredo or I'm making this taco meat or whatever, I learned to say, well, I'm making a cashew sauce that goes over noodles, right? Because if I said fettuccine alfredo, they're expecting it's going to taste exactly like fettuccine alfredo, right? So I'm careful with how I say it. I don't want to put an expectation that it's going to taste exactly like the dairy product, because it doesn't. But it has a flavor all of its own. So if you say it and you have an open mind to, oh, I'm going to try a new sauce, and don't expect it to taste like the thing it's trying to model, then it's a little easier to have an open mind about it. So the taco filling, we're going to use Morningstar Griller Crumbles. And just a word on veggie meats. There's a lot of veggie meats out there. And I would not call them the healthiest food you can find. But sometimes it is really convenient, especially for me as a busy mom, to have something that I can just throw together really fast. Just put a few seasonings in. So they're convenient, and they're tasty, and they're a good step, a good baby step towards going plant-based. I've made this for a lot of non-vegetarians. When they come over, tacos is one of my favorite things to make for visitors, and they like it. I don't tell them it's going to taste just like the meat, because it doesn't, but they like it. So it's a good transitionary food. So I just would caution you not to go heavy on the veggie meats, because they are highly processed foods, and we can cook from scratch things that still taste good and are more healthy. But to use it every once in a while, they can be a good step in the right direction. So would someone like to come up, one of the volunteers want to come up and do the griller crumbles? All right. Also, there's several different versions of this. This is my favorite and my husband's favorite. We like the flavor and the texture, but it does have soy and gluten in it. So if you have allergies, you can find other brands. We have some of the enchiladas that are being made with the Beyond Beef brand, and that's soy-free and gluten-free. So if you want to go ahead and tear that open there. And I forgot to turn the hot plate on. So, turn it on. Let's switch to this one actually so they can see better. We'll use this. Here, I'll try to get it. It's hard with gloves. We might need scissors or a different hand. That does not want to tear. There we go. All right, so if you want to get that avocado oil and drizzle just a little bit. I had not tried the Beyond Beef before, and when I cooked it today for the enchiladas, you do not need to add oil with the Beyond Beef. It's packaged more like real beef, and it just has that oil in it that cooks out, and you don't need to add oil. But this will get dry without oil. Just a little bit more. Thank you. Perfect. And we'll just dump that package in, and we'll start seasoning. So on the recipe for these griller crumbles, I tried my best to put some amounts that I thought would be about what I use, but I don't use a recipe for this, so we're just going to sprinkle, and we do it to taste. So, and the seasonings, you can switch it up. Whatever seasonings you like, you put it in there. These are just my favorites that I've found. And it's kind of my basic recipe for my enchiladas, my tacos, my taco soup. They all use these same seasonings. So, you want to sprinkle for me, Hazel? So we're just going to start out with a good sprinkle of onion powder and garlic powder. A little bit more. We'll be generous. And then some garlic powder. All right. And then the cumin, we'll probably use one of those teaspoons that's laying there. You can do a couple half teaspoons there. The full teaspoon doesn't fit down in there, but a couple of the half teaspoons. So we'll put about a teaspoon of cumin in. and then some taco seasoning. Have any of you visited the cheese shop? Okay. It's one of my favorite stores. I know it sounds funny, the cheese shop, and we're doing a plant-based cooking school. They have lots of cheese, but they also have a lot of health food items. Their seasonings are a good price, and they have really nice mixes and just straight seasonings. They have cashews, pecan meal, flaxseed, oats, flour, all of this stuff that I use a lot of at a really good price. So that's in Stewart's Draft. So you can take probably 2 teaspoons of that and sprinkle it on. That's their taco seasoning that I get from the cheese shop.
Question.
Yes.
Now, is there a sodium content on that? For those that might have heart problems, that they need to be aware that they need to check for sodium?
Let's see what the sodium content is. They don't have like all the nutrition written
Yeah,
out
that's
on
okay.
it.
That's one thing on the.
So it does have salt, chili pepper. Yeah, so it's going to be a little
And
more
it doesn't
high
have the
sodium.
percentage of sodium?
No, because it doesn't have the nutrition facts all listed out. It just has the ingredients.
I just figured somebody that might have a heart problem needs to know these things, because the average American gets more sodium than they need in processed foods.
That is very true.
And then when they have a salt shaker on their table, they're over the top. And
That is very true.
just so they're aware of that when they buy their stuff.
When you buy your seasonings, to watch the sodium content. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, so we put garlic powder, onion powder, taco seasoning, and cumin so far, right? And then we're going to just go light on the salt, because the griller crumbles have a little bit in it too. So go ahead and do a little salt. And then we're going to sprinkle a little chipotle chili pepper to give it a little bit of spice. So, and I sprinkle and taste and sprinkle and taste until I get it just to what I want. So 2 more ingredients that I often add, especially for the enchiladas, and it just kind of brings out the flavors. I often put some honey, and my husband and I have kept bees in the past, and so we still have honey from them. So this is our raw honey from our backyard. But we sometimes put the honey in and a little bit of lemon juice, and sometimes we put some frozen corn in there too, just depending on what I'm using it for. But that's kind of how we make that. And again, you can choose whatever seasonings you like and just season it up to your taste. So, yes, thank you so much, Hazel. I do, yes. And in the enchiladas that has this, it has honey and lemon in there. It just, you have more question on that? Oh, how much? I would probably put in this about a teaspoon of honey and maybe 1 or 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. Yeah, I think it's on the recipe. So for time's sake, we're not going to like completely finish this. These are frozen, so they need to cook for probably about 10 minutes until they start getting a little browned underneath. And then you're good to go, and you can put it in your tacos, your enchiladas, on your taco salad. Whatever you would put your ground beef in, you can use this as a replacement. So, all right. I've got to check my notes and see what I'm supposed to move on to next. I'll need another volunteer for the next recipe.
Heidi, I have a question about
Yes.
the beef crumbles.
Yes.
Since that's a different option and you added oil, is it different from, say, ground beef? And do you have to drain that? Do you have to drain the crumbles?
No, the crumbles, it's a much more dry product than like that Beyond Beef. The Beyond Beef cooks more like the beef. It has the oil that comes out. This one does not, so that's why I add a little bit to keep it from getting dry. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna work on the enchilada sauce next. And when I'm looking for recipes, what I do is I just look online and I'm like, okay, I want to make enchilada sauce today. And then I look at the reviews and I look at a few recipes. Then I kind of tweak it and put my own thing together. That's what just has worked the best for me. So I got this from, I think the website is Cookies and Kate. and it had really good reviews, but I just added a few ingredients and tweaked things a little bit to what we like. So we're going to go ahead and use this one that's warm. I'm going to send this to the kitchen and let this get finished cooking in the kitchen. Thank you. All right. So the enchilada sauce. Now I know this we're using oil in just about every recipe. If you want to go more oil-free, I'm sure you could saute the onions in some of the vegetable broth. I don't personally cook oil-free, and this meal does have a little bit more oil than some of the other meals that I make. But I do try to use some of the oils that have a higher smoke point so that it's a little healthier for the cooking. Yes? Did you have a question? Oh, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to add just 3 tablespoons of oil to the pot here.
Okay.
And then I've already made up the mix of seasonings, but it's, again, a season to taste thing. But I experimented with it and tried to get the amounts for you. This has 3 tablespoons of flour. I did use a gluten-free flour. It's the Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 baking flour. So this is gluten-free. So it has 3 tablespoons of flour, about a teaspoon and a half of chili powder, 1.5 teaspoons of cumin, 3/4 teaspoon garlic, and I think like 3/4 teaspoon salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of oregano. So that's the seasoning mix, and it is on the recipe there. So we've got 3 tablespoons in there of the oil, and then we'll go ahead and put this in, and we're going to need, we can use this to stir. Just stir it so that we get the lumps out there, and you let it saute. Let the seasoning saute with the oil for about 1 or 2 minutes. And then it brings those flavors out. You'll start to smell it. It will get fragrant. And so we'll let that go for a little bit, and I'll tell you about the other ingredients.
Supposed to be tasty like that?
Yeah, it will be a little pasty because of the oil. I mean the flour to help thicken the sauce. So I prepared this ahead of time just for time's sake, but this has 2 cups of vegetable broth, and I was looking. I don't use vegetable broth very often. I make my own at home with a seasoning that I really like, but I looked around at the labels and I found one that's just vegetables and salt. It has no additives. It's organic. It's the Pacific Foods organic vegetable broth, and so it's pretty pure ingredients. And then so I blended 2 cups of vegetable broth with 4 tomatoes, just small Roma tomatoes, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, and I added a chipotle chili pepper in adobo sauce. You know, you can get the little red cans of the chili peppers in adobo sauce, and they're really spicy, so you go easy on those. So if you don't like things spicy, you can just take out that pepper and put more chili powder in if you want. I made the sauce for the enchiladas a little more mild. Didn't put quite as much peppers in it. But that's what's in this mix, which we'll add to this after we get everything sauteed. So this is half an onion and 2 cloves of minced garlic. And we'll add that in there and just saute until the onions get tender. So it will take just a few minutes. So if you want to watch this for me and keep stirring that up until they get tender, and then you can add the sauce and thicken it up a little bit. I think the hot plates are, I don't even know if this one's on.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's doing anything.
Yeah, it doesn't, does it? Is it starting to get warm? I think I had it off. I had it on over here and off here. Okay. since we have so many things to cook today, we might not get everything completely done.
Because that's on a different surface.
I think it's okay. We'll just let it keep heating up. So if you want to watch that, and then when those get sauteed, you can add the rest of that sauce in. And again, this is seasoned to taste. If you want to add more salt, more chili powder, whatever. Or if you have another seasoning you think sounds good in it, just you can experiment with it yourself too. So while that's cooking, I'll have another volunteer come up and help me with the melty cheese sauce we're going to make. Who's the next one? And this one we're going to use the blender. And I already told you about my Instapot being a really good thing in my kitchen, right? This, I couldn't live without my blender. We had it growing up. We always had one. But I use cashews in like all the sauces I make. I make white sauce for pasta with a cashew base. My gravy is cashew based. The cheese sauce is cashew based. And so to blend those cashews and get that nice creamy texture, this blender, this Vitamix is wonderful. So good investment if you're going to go to making your plant-based sauces. So what we're going to do with this is, let me get that 1/4 cup measure. Sorry, I think it's in that bag. All right, so we're going to put a 1/4 cup of raw cashew pieces, and these are unsalted raw cashews.
How do we get the lid off?
So you just squeeze,
Oh.
and then it pops off. So we can put a 1/4 cup of cashews in there. And I'm going to start getting this one heated up because we're going to need that in a minute. So we've got our 1/4 cup of cashews. Then we're going to do, it's 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast flakes. And these I get at the cheese shop, and these I use in a lot of sauces as well. And in my basil pesto, it just gives things a really nice flavor. So you can actually put just a shy 1/4 cup in there because my tablespoon is wet. Just a little bit more, and then that will be good. And I have there it is. Then this here, I prepared the cornstarch, garlic powder, and salt is in here, and the amounts are on your recipe. So we might need to scrape it out a little bit. I think it was wet when I put it in there. Didn't see
Clean
the,
dishwasher.
yeah. So, and the cornstarch is just in there to make it thick. And then pimentos. The pimentos give it the color. It doesn't do a lot for the flavor, but it gives it the color. And you just put 2 ounces. So the store only had the 7-ounce jars, but I usually get the 4-ounce jars. I use half of it, and then I throw the other half in the freezer. And actually, the freezer is my best friend. My mom taught me, freeze your leftovers. Yes?
Instead of using that from the jar, we buy red peppers,
Okay.
organic red peppers,
Uh-huh.
and I cut them up and freeze them. And when I want to use the pimentos, I just throw them in.
Oh,
Or
that's
we
really
have
smart.
grown our red peppers or pimento peppers.
Okay.
So instead of using that, I use, plant-based food of red
Okay.
pepper, and it's
Yeah.
just the same for color.
Okay, that's
and you
awesome.
kind of just throw in what you want and taste it.
Yeah, when I've been out of these before too, I've just put a few carrots in the microwave with some water and thrown in some cooked carrots. You just want it to have an orange color. It's not so much the flavor. The other seasonings do the flavoring.
See, when we
Yes?
do that, it can become an expensive thing sometimes. So we basically try to get it as economical as
Yes.
possible. Because when you buy a jar of that and you buy a pepper,
Yeah.
we try to, for people who can't afford, it's
Mm-hmm.
not expensive. It's cheaper to eat this way. But if you just go on the counter and start grabbing things off the supermarket shelf, it can
Yeah.
become quite pricey. So we try to make it cheap as we can.
I understand. And that's why with the pimentos, like a little jar is under $2, I think. And I just freeze half of it so I can get 2 batches of cheese out of 1 jar because it's just for the color. But what I was saying, let me get this open here. Sorry. There, I heard it pop. So you're just going to put let's put 3 tablespoons in. That should be about 2 ounces. So the freezer. My mom taught me to freeze all the leftovers. And it's so nice because I'll make a big batch of the beans, and my family can't eat all of those, so I throw the rest in the freezer. I throw the rest of the griller crumbles in the freezer. Then throughout the week, I'm making enchiladas, I'm making taco salad, because I have those leftovers I can just pull out. And the beans, if you do freeze them, you're going to want to add a little water when you thaw them out so that they're not too dry. But with this, freezing the pimentos, another one, this one has just 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Well, you can't buy just 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, right? It's a 6-ounce jar. So I take the rest of the tomato paste and freeze it in ice cubes, ice cube trays. Then you have like a tablespoon size amount. I do that with lemon juice, a lot of different things. Coconut milk, because a lot of recipes I use have like maybe 3 tablespoons of coconut milk. So just freeze it in an ice cube tray, and you've got it ready for the next time you make that recipe. So, all right, so we've got our cashews, nutritional yeast, our pimentos, and our seasoning mix, and now we need more water, which I forgot again to bring up here. Can I get a refill? Just 2 cups. It's the 16-ounce line. So we'll add 2 cups of water to this, and then we're going to blend it. And this is looking good over here. Yeah, I think that's looking good. So you can kind of smell the fragrance coming out and see the onions getting clear. If you guys want to see, can you see what's in there? No? Where do I need, we've got the camera over there. I can't see myself on it. Huh? Oh, that one's not working? Oh, okay. Well, anyways, if you can see there, we've got a kind of thick mixture of onions and seasonings, but they're kind of starting to get clear.
So dump that in?
So we're going to dump this in and just let it come to a low simmer. And you cook it for about 5 to 8 minutes. And then after it's done and you've kind of gotten it to the consistency you want, you throw in 1 teaspoon of the apple cider vinegar, and that just sharpens the flavors for you. So we've got our water. Okay, so we're just going to put 2 cups of this in. So if you want to pour half that jar, and then we'll get that blended. I'm going to go ahead and start on the fajita veggies because my pan is hot here. These veggies you can saute with water if you'd like to. I'm going to use just a tad of oil to keep them from sticking. This is 1.5 onions and 1 pepper, colored pepper. So I just let those saute a bit, and we're going to season that to taste too in just a minute. How's that going?
To boil, do I?
Just let it come to a low simmer. It'll be fine if it simmers a little bit.
Just push this down?
Yep, push this down, get it hooked in, and then you're going to start it on low and variable, and you'll slowly move this up to 10 and click it to high. So if you don't have the high-speed blender, just one minute and we'll tell them when to mute the mic. If you don't have the high-speed blender, you can soak the cashews in warm water for a while ahead of time, or you can take just a small amount of your water and cashews and blend that till it gets smooth, then add the rest of your ingredients. But this will do it all together. So all right, so that should be good to go. And then we may not be able to demonstrate this part of the cheese sauce, We might have to send this back to the kitchen because we're running out of pans. But you take the sauce here and just put it in a saucepan and thicken it like on medium-high heat until it boils. And then it will get to a nice consistency for like a nacho cheese type thing. The thing with this, though, is if you thicken it all and you're not going to use it all, it's going to set up in your fridge to be like Jell-O, and then you can't pour it over stuff. So what I do is I say, okay, I'm going to use half of this recipe. Yes.
Oh, just wondering, when you're thickening the sauce, do you have to keep stirring it?
Yes, thank you. Yes, you do have to
Okay.
keep stirring it so it doesn't burn. So you
Okay.
stir it constantly. It takes about 5 minutes on my stove. But what I'll do is if I'm just going to use a small amount of it, I take how much I think I'll use, I thicken that amount, I throw the rest in a jar and in the fridge. It will all look really weird. Like Curtis has opened the fridge before and been like, what is that in there? Because it all settles out into different layers. But all you have to do is shake it up and cook up the next amount that you want. Because I don't like it really thick. It's not as good as when it's nice and creamy. So that's what we would do with that. Just thicken it, and that looks good. Yeah. So I think we can turn this off. We've got our enchilada sauce bubbling. Where do you want me to move it to so they can see? Oh, this works now? So we've got that bubbling. It's a nice red color. It's got a few chunks of onions and garlic in there. So if you want to just put 1 teaspoon of the apple cider vinegar, and then we'll send that back to the kitchen. All right. Is there another small pot in the kitchen that we could go ahead and put the cheese in? And then I'll let you thicken it there because we'll need it for our nachos. So these are getting nicely sauteed. Okay, yeah, no, that's fine.
Pop too many pills.
So once we get, yeah, the bigger one should work. Thank you. So you can just pour that right in there. And I've prepared some ahead of time because we're going to need more than 1 batch for our nachos. So you can add that to it. And yeah, it does. It looks kind of like a nacho cheese, doesn't it? So you can just stir it constantly until it gets boiling. And let me see, we'll turn this up for you so it goes faster. Yes.
If you're working with somebody in the family who has nut allergies,
Uh-huh.
is there anything other than cashews that would work? Have you ever tried any
that-
other kind of nut?
That is a good question. Does someone have an answer for that? Because my family doesn't have any nut allergies, so we use all kinds of nuts. So I don't know what a good replacement. Coconut milk has such a strong flavor, so I wouldn't use that in everything. But yes.
Any nut, if you like it, once you season it right, you can use. But you
Yeah.
have to stay away from Brazil nuts because they're quite fatty.
Oh, okay.
But
Are
they
you s-
make the best gravy, but they are fatty.
Yeah. Are you saying nuts at all in
For
general?
nuts.
Something
Are we
else besides
substitute for nuts or substitute for cashew nuts?
for
For
cashew?
cashews, yes.
Oh, yeah, you
Any
could
nut.
use almonds or,
can use
or
almonds,
other
whatever.
things like that. Yeah. For that brings me to what we have for the drink tonight is we got oat milk and put some cinnamon in it and heated that up. It's a nice creamy milk. So you could even maybe use some oat milk or something like that to help. So, yeah, thank you for helping me with that, Charles. All right, so we've got that going. I'm going to season up these fajita veggies real quick. Now this is just my preference. Some people might not like smoked paprika, but that's my heaviest seasoning in here. I really like that smoky paprika flavor. So I put about a teaspoon of that in.
Paprika is also used for chili. If you have heartburn from chili, we use paprika. I told my wife
Yeah.
last time she made it with chili, I said, stop putting this. I said, did you put chili powder in it? I said, I told you, paprika.
Yeah, paprika is really good stuff. So I'm going to sprinkle some onion powder, some garlic powder, I use onion and garlic powder in everything, even if I put fresh onions and garlic in. Can't get too much of it, in my opinion. Then we're going to do some salt. And something that I learned actually last week made me think a little bit more about, okay, what am I putting in my food and what's on my labels? Maybe I need to check out some things a little better. So I have this seasoning that I love. It's called McKay's Beef Style Seasoning. And I get the no MSG, the vegan one, but then I looked at it and it has a bunch of other additives. It's really not the best for you. And the one I had at home actually wasn't the vegan version, so I was like, well, I'm not going to use that. I usually put that in here, but Trudy, she's in the kitchen over there. She told me something that works really well is dried mushroom powder, right? Can kind of give that beefy flavor. So if you have dried mushroom powder and you want to throw some of that on here or on the griller crumbles, it can give that a little more of that flavor. I haven't tried it. I don't like mushrooms, but I think that the flavor of the powder would be really good.
So wait a question, where's the good place to get the dried mushroom powder?
That I don't know, Trudy. Where can we get dried mushroom powder? Costco has a big jar. And Trader Joe's. You put it in your vitamin. Oh, okay. So you can make your own powder. Okay. Thank you. So that I think would be a really good addition to these veggies. They're getting nice and soft. I like things kind of still a little crispy, so I don't like to overcook my veggies, but maybe we'll bring this over to the camera. Can we see it? Over more? Sorry.
There we go.
There we go. So we've got that paprika seasoning on there. I also add some taco seasoning or some chipotle chili pepper because I like a little kick. I like a little spice. And that's what the chipotle chili powder has done for me. So we'll throw that in too. And I think we've got just about everything done and we're ready to put some nachos together. For the enchiladas that we're going to be serving, we have 3 different kinds. There's one with the refried beans and your veggies. We added mushrooms, so it's peppers, onions, and mushrooms. So you have the refried beans and the veggies in one pan. 2 pans with the griller crumbles, and then 1 pan with the soy-free, gluten-free Beyond Beef. So those are your choices for enchiladas. And then we're also going to have all the toppings out for tacos, so you can make your own little fajitas with whatever you want. We have corn. My husband loves corn. We put it on just about everything. But we made some Mexican corn with just a little bit of plant-based mayonnaise, just like 3 spoonfuls, some taco seasoning, salt, and lemon juice. So that's the corn. And then we've got guacamole that has lime juice, salt, garlic powder, and onion powder. And then we've got pico de gallo, which is fresh tomatoes, onions, cilantro, lime juice, and salt. So those are the toppings we have. And you can add whatever you want. I also have some hot sauce and salsa over there. But we're going to make a couple pans of nachos and put those in the oven so you can, I just wanted you to see that you can make like multiple different meals with these things. So yes, it's a lot of things to cook, but if you prepare it ahead, you've got like 3 or 4 different meals that week or even the next week because you can throw it in the freezer. The only thing I don't freeze and that I make fresh is the fajita veggies, but those are really easy. So how's that cheese sauce coming?
It's coming.
Is it coming?
Yeah, slowly but surely.
Yeah, well, I gave you some cold sauce, so that didn't help either. Any questions so far? Okay. I think we're getting close to the end of my cooking time. So, do I have one more volunteer? Sean. Okay. Sean, thank you. Maybe you can help me put these nachos together. We'll need the cheese for them, but. Are the beans done in the kitchen? Can we get those? Move this out of the way. So we'll just me clean up my mess a little bit. My husband will tell you I'm kind of a messy cook. I always have my counters full. Huh? Let's put it just right here is good. Yeah, just whatever will fill the pans. All right, this was perfect. We got just the right amount of water in here. Where can I put this for a close-up for our beans? Over here? I've never cooked with cameras before. This is new.
I wouldn't want anybody to see.
So there's our beans. We got just a little bit of water over top of them, and I'm going to toss those in the blender. Just for, I'm gonna have to ask someone to rinse the blender out. Sorry, just for allergies' sake, there might be some stuff in there. And you'll see the beans will be quite runny, but like I said, they thicken very fast. So what we're gonna do for the nachos, I unplugged that and forgot I needed it. No, this is done. I think our veggies are done. Jeremiah, can I hand this off so we can clear a little more space here? Those might need a little more seasoning. And then, oh, you got it. Thank you. So we're just gonna do a nice layer of chips on each pan. And I'll tell you, my husband, he loves cheese. But whenever I make nachos, he's like, do you have your vegan cheese? Because he prefers the vegan cheese on the nachos. And you feel so much better after you eat it, too, because it's not all that heavy fat that's in your cheese. It's just nuts and seasonings, right? So it's really a really great option for nachos. And he's not the only one who's liked it. Several people have said, oh, that's really good, nachos. Is it too hot, or we'll just dump it all in the blender?
Y'all want to watch?
Thank you.
Close your eyes.
That's the other thing I love about this blender. I can do almost 8 cups of food in it.
Not one being lost.
Thank you. Perfect. And I think it's all on the right settings. Okay, we'll get this Instapot out of the way.
No, there's steam coming off.
Okay. That'll be good. I use a hand blender, but I broke mine today trying to make the beans. So if you have a little hand blender, it works really nicely too. And then if you like them a little chunky, you can leave it that a little chunky. Yeah. So these are pretty soupy. Are there some thicker ones? And we can use these we can let these set up just a little bit. Yes.
That's when you can use, the Kojak. If you say, oops, I put too much in there, you can leave it on that blender and just add a little bit at a time, and those beans will thicken right
A
up.
little bit of what?
Kojak, it's called, what? What's it? Huh? I'll have to look it up. I always get
Okay.
confused. But its nickname is Kojak. When you order it online, you look up Kojak. It's I forget the word, but I'll tell you from them. You just look up Kojak.
Okay.
And it's a quick vegetable thickener.
Okay. Well, thank you. So, see, these were made earlier today, so you can see they've set up quite a bit. It will just be easier for the nachos to use these. So, I don't know if this cheese sauce is taking its time. Is there some cheese sauce that's ready and warmed up that we could use for the nachos here? And we can use this out on the table. All right. And then the oven, we'll need the oven on at 400 degrees for the nachos. So if we can get an oven turned on, and then these will be ready to serve in a few minutes. All right, thank you. So you can see the cheese sauce thickened up quite a bit here. So what we're going to do, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Ginger, for faithfully stirring it for me. So I'm very generous with this on the nachos. You can put however much you want, but I like it, a lot of it on there to keep it moist. In the colors? What, between the two sauces? This one's fully cooked and that one's not. And also, I may have put a few more pimentos in one than the other. So, did I have another hand? No? Okay. All right. Well, after I get the cheese sauce on, you can just put little spoonfuls of beans. Yeah. So we're going to use a good amount of this. When it's nice and fresh, it's a lot runnier, so it's a lot easier to put on. But I'm going to put just a... And my daughter loves these. My 3-year-old daughter, she loves it. She doesn't ask for real cheese when we put this on her chips, so... So he's just sprinkling the beans on top, and then the griller crumbles that I sent back there, and some Beyond Beef that we have already cooked we'll add to this. No, that's good. Yeah. Usually my first layer, my thickest layer is the cheese sauce, a little bit of beans, and then just sprinkle everything else. So. Do you mind check? We're gonna need both of them. We'll make one gluten-free and one. The griller, the taco filling. We're gonna add to this. Yeah. So when I make nachos, I make one batch of cheese and two pans for my family, and the one batch of cheese covers the 2 pans pretty well, and then that feeds 3 of us. But we eat a lot, so. Okay, so this is our griller crumbles that are already prepared, and I'm going to try to get, I don't want to mix spoons on these. So, is there another spoon I can use? Okay, that will work. So then I just, and you know, sometimes I make the nachos without this, and it's just fine. But when we have it, it adds a nice touch. So we'll just sprinkle that on lightly. And we love onions, so I usually put some chopped onions on here and some frozen corn. Pop it in the oven, cook it at 400 for about 5 minutes. And then when it comes out, we top it with fresh tomatoes, cilantro, avocado, hot sauce, salsa, whatever you like on your nachos. So we'll send that back to the oven, and this will be our gluten-free version here. Then you guys can have a little sample of what the nachos are like. Okay. Yeah, that's the gluten-free. And these can go back to the serving table for the buffet. And the griller crumbles that we cooked in the demo can go for the buffet too. All right, so anyone have any questions about anything we made tonight? I think we got through it all. So, I was going to say for the taco filling, if you don't want to use the veggie meat and you want to try something more cooked from scratch, there are a couple other options, and I put links for the recipes on the back of your recipe card. It should be there. Minimalist Baker is one of my favorite websites to go to for vegan cooking. if I'm looking, like I said, I look up what do I want to make, and then I look at different recipes. Well, if I see Minimalist Baker on the list, I go straight to that one first because she's really good. So she has a quinoa taco meat that Trudy actually found the recipe and showed it to me. So both of us made it this week, and I think our families both approved. It doesn't have the same texture as the griller crumbles, so it's not going to be meat-like at all, but it does add some flavor. It's got salsa and some other seasonings in there, and you bake it. It's a pretty simple recipe, and I think Sandy's going to be introducing us to quinoa later on, right? So we just didn't have time to demonstrate all of it today. But the other thing that I do sometimes is I use tofu quite a bit. And I found I like when I go to Chipotle to get the tofu sofrita meat in my burrito. So I was like, well, I want to make that. So I looked it up and found a great recipe for it. It's a little on the spicy side. I do not put the jalapeno in. It's way too hot. If you want to cut down on some of the hot seasonings, you can. But basically, it's just this sauce you blend up and you pour it over the tofu. I found that the super firm tofu, you can't get it at Walmart, but you can get it at Kroger and Food Lion. It's this super firm tofu, water packed in the refrigerated section. It works the best because it's not so moist, and so it's really good for that recipe. And then we use those sofritas. I freeze them, pull them out, make a black bean sofrita bowl, put the guacamole on top. We put them in our taco salad. So there's different options for other recipes. So I just wanted to throw a couple websites out there for you. So any other questions or comments? Ready to eat? I think, yes. Okay, we're going to have Pastor Bob say our blessing for the food, and then you guys can go through the buffet. Yes? It was Pacific Foods organic vegetable broth, and I used both the low sodium and the regular sodium. We used them both in the enchilada sauce today. I got it at, I think, Kroger, but Walmart has it. It's a lot of these things you can find at just your regular grocery store. So, yeah.
All right. Let's bow our heads. Loving Father in heaven, we thank you for this simple formula that you've given us in the beginning of a simple diet that is still the best way to eat today, and also for the many colors and textures that delight each one of us and keep us healthy. Pray a special blessing on this food, and bless us also with your presence, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. You guys are welcome to go to the buffet and fill your plates.
This is my first year at the wellness camp as an attendee. It has been a very good experience. I am a diabetic, I have high blood pressure, and I need to lose some weight. So I thought that if I came to wellness camp that I could learn some different things and try and lose some weight. It has been really good. I've lost about 13 pounds since being here, and I am not currently taking any of my blood pressure medicine or my diabetes medicine.
My cholesterol was right around 306. The ending result blood test, cholesterol came down to about 245.
So at first we only walked 2/10 of a mile, but today I walked a half of a mile.
I was supposed to have gallbladder surgery, and I talked to Dr. Emerson, and he said that there's a gallbladder cleanse that I could do. So I asked him if we could do it while I'm here, and he said yes. So I passed those stones, and that was a blessing. That was God. I praise God for that.
Getting plenty of exercise, having good food, vegan diet, which has been a change for me. It's been a good change.
Spiritual renewal was a big draw for me. I wanted to come for spiritual renewal, and all the walking and all the lectures, the learning how to eat plant-based has been a big blessing for me. I've learned so much.
The people here are so very much friendly.
And meeting all the nice people, everybody's been such a blessing, the help, the staff.
I really enjoyed meeting all the new people here, making some new friends. That has been a really high point for me.
And another was the bonfire, where we all gave testimonies.
The different recipes that we have learned in the cooking classes also has been very beneficial and great as well.
And people take a direct approach with you. You're not just a group, you're individuals.
And so I'm hoping that I can take from here some information and share it and pass it along to try and help someone else out and continue on with my journey as well.
It was a very wise decision to come here.
You know, today a lot of people aren't experiencing the good health and the joy that comes from it that God wants them to experience. And so our goal here at the Mountain View Valley Vista Health Camp is to share with people the choices that they can make to give them the good health that they're desiring. We then put them in an environment where they can experience those good choices and good health that can come from a proper diet, from the walking programs. Our goal is then to train them to be able to continue this. And so maybe the most important thing we do here is try to strengthen their connection with their God so that they can tap into a power that can give them the power and the strength to follow through on the choices they've made while they've been here. We've had the joy of seeing many people lose a dramatic amount of weight, lower their cholesterols, bring their blood pressures down, bring their blood sugars down, and it's a real joy to see that, and I think that's what motivates us to come back year after year to serve the health camp.
So you've had the opportunity to see what happens here at Wellness Camp, but you haven't had the opportunity yet to experience Wellness Camp firsthand and sense the Spirit of God's presence, enjoy the beautiful Valley Vista here in West Virginia. So we're looking forward to you coming this year and experiencing Wellness Camp with us. So come.
for those of you who are online, we will start our second portion of the program here shortly. And Heidi has a little bit more information to share with you. So if you can just give us a few minutes and we will get back with our show. Thank you.
If she can't, it's okay. So I hope everyone is enjoying your food. Thank you. Thank you all for helping me make it. Thank you. The other part of this Cooking with Friends is we're going through the New Start acronym. So last week, Jeremiah and Sarah did a wonderful job introducing us to some principles of nutrition, and they told us their health journey of how improving their diet just changed their lives completely. So they covered the N, and tonight I'm going to cover the E. Any guesses what that is? E for exercise. That's right. So nutrition, exercise. So what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word exercise? Tired, okay. Work, don't have any time. Pain, running, boring, okay. Any others? Energy, okay. Yeah, you can throw out some positive ones too, right? So when I think of exercise, I think of outdoor play. I think of family relationships. I think of fun. And that's because growing up, exercise was a big part of my life. I grew up in the country. We rode horses, we went biking, we went hiking, and that was just what we did. That was our lifestyle, and that has continued throughout my life. And that's why exercise has such good meaning to me, because it's how we live. Now, do I have a exercise program? No, I don't. If you told me exercise was going to the gym, I'd be like, nope, I'm not going to the gym. I am not an indoor exercise person. But .org lists 7 different benefits that exercise has for your body. Number 1, it helps to control weight. Number 2, it helps combat health conditions and diseases. Because I think nutrition is so important, right? Because what we put in our bodies is the fuel for our body, right? It's what keeps us going. But if you just sit there, you're not letting it get to good use, right? The exercise is the other part that is so important for our bodies as we use that good nutrition and we have the energy from our food to go and use our muscles to get our blood flowing, to get our heart going. It's so important, and it helps with so much disease prevention. Here's a list of diseases that regular exercise helps to prevent or manage. And this is not an exhaustive list, it's just a few. Stroke, metabolic syndrome, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, depression, anxiety, many types of cancer, arthritis, and falls, right? Because you're more balanced the more you move your body, right? So all of these things we can help decrease or help prevent or manage through exercise. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. We just need to get out and move our bodies. Number 3, exercise improves mood. And I think this is especially true if you're exercising outdoors, especially for me. If I'm stuck in the gym, I'm not having fun, and it's not going to do as much to improve my mood. But when I'm outside going for a brisk walk or a jog or hiking with my family and we're just having quality family time together and that fresh air and sunshine, I mean, how can you not be happy, right? So it improves our mood. And I looked up a few studies on this, actually, and there was this one psychologist that was talking about how psychology does not use exercise as a treatment as much as they should. And there was a study that was saying that they had several different groups that were on different types of antidepressant treatments, right? So there was one group that was just on an exercise routine, another group that was on antidepressant, and a couple other things I can't remember exactly. But the results showed that those who were on the exercise routine and those who were on the antidepressant did the same. They did those exercising did just as good as those who were on the medication. And also that the exercising, if it was continued throughout a year, a year later, if those people were still exercising, they were still reaping those same benefits for their depression management. So it's huge. It's huge for our mood. And number 4, exercise boosts our energy. And someone said when they think exercise, they think tired. Yes, it does make you tired while you're doing it, but as you do it regularly, it does boost your energy levels because your body is getting stronger, your heart is getting stronger, and you're getting more used to that movement, and it does help with your energy. Another one that Mayo Clinic didn't list, but that there's several studies on it, is exercise can improve your sleep. So it can help you sleep better at night. And you have to be careful. Everyone is going to be different. When you exercise can make a difference as to whether it helps you with your sleep. Some people, when they exercise, it just boosts their energy and gets those endorphins going, and then they can't go to sleep if they exercise right before bedtime, right? But if you exercise earlier in the day, and I can't remember all the science behind it, but there's something that about exercise that helps you get into that deeper sleep for longer and can help improve. Yes.
I remember very little from all my classes in college, but there was this one fact that you're touching on that I will always remember. From health class, they said, it doesn't matter when you exercise in the sense that all those positive attributes will come to you, but they did say this, the earlier in the day that you exercise, the better it is for you, because they showed some charts, and like if you exercise in the morning, it really enhances your metabolism and the way you can eat, and the later in the day that you exercise, it's still helpful and beneficial, but your metabolism is not affected as if it was in the morning. So the earlier you can do it is the better. That's the one fact I remember.
All right, thank you so much for sharing that. All right, so we went over, it helps control weight, combat health conditions and diseases, improves your mood, boosts your energy, helps you sleep better, and it also can be fun and social. Exercise does not have to be boring. It doesn't have to be a routine that you do at home by yourself. You can go out and get a friend to go walking with you 3 times a week, or go out with your family on the weekends and go for a hike. You know, it can be fun, it can be social. In fact, a lot of good friendships that I have were based around exercise. When I was in high school, my sister was running track and field, and she said, "Oh, Heidi, come on, just come out and practice with the cross-country team." I said, "I'm not a runner. I don't want to run. I'm not coming." And she's like, "Come on." It was at 6:30 in the morning. And so she finally got me out, and the workout that day was a 3-mile run. And I had never run 3 miles in my life, but I just started going, and it was like, oh, okay, I can do this. And at the end of the 20-minute run, it maybe wasn't 3 miles, it was a 20-minute run. I felt great, and I was like, okay, I really like this. So I started running cross country, made some great friends. After I graduated from high school, I had a lot of friends in college that were runners, and we traveled around and doing races together. We weren't a competitive team, but we just did different 5Ks and a couple half marathons, and we trained together. And so it was relationship building for me. And honestly, having those people to exercise with is what kept me accountable, because when it comes to being self-motivated to do that, I'm not super great at that. But if I have someone to run with, someone to hike with, like my kids, they're a great motivation for me right now. We try to do the 1,000 hours outside challenge to get 1,000 hours outside every year. And so we're out there in the snow, sometimes in the rain, just hiking and enjoying life outside. And so they're great motivators for me right now. Yeah.
Oh, there we are. Real quick, on behalf of this eating habits, you should hang in there, because if you don't have the energy, you will find energy.
That's right.
So for a real quick short testimony, 1978, I joined the Army. I was the #1 soldier in 15 years to get a perfect score, and I thought I was doing good. But when I went through a lifestyle course for 18 days, I came out of that place. I hate running, but I ran 2 miles. You had to. 18 days on this diet, eating this way. I went out running with the dean of school in Heartland. And I ran 5 miles. That got me attention. I was like, whoa, 5
Yeah.
miles. Within 30 days after that, I was running 10 miles a day. Now, I'm not saying to do that because I don't do it today because I don't like doing that.
Yeah.
But you will find energy. You got to hang in there long enough to feel the energy, and you will get it. You know,
That fuel for your body is so important. Yes.
you will get it.
Yes, thank you. So, the benefits of exercise. Now, what type of exercise, right? I've touched on that a little bit, but what do you think is one of the best forms of exercise? Walking is, and I think you have an article on that, right? Walking is a wonderful exercise. Even if you just do 20 minutes a day, and you don't want to walk slow and stuff. I mean, you want to try to get your heart rate up because that aerobic exercise is really important to get that heart rate up for about 20 minutes at a time. But you can start out slow, and then as you find the energy, keep getting more and more to a brisk walk. But some people say, oh, I'm going to run to lose weight. I'm going to do all this. Walking really is one of the best because, one, it's easier on your body. It's easier on your joints. And it still gets that heart rate up without jarring your body. Now, I love running, especially with other people, but I also don't think that running every day and making that my only exercise is healthy. I don't really think it's healthy for me and my body type, but I think it can also. I have a lot of friends from high school cross country that they had so many injuries. They were the top of the team, but they had their shin splints and fractures and everything. They couldn't even run state their senior year because they had already messed up their legs that much while they were young from all that jarring. So I think walking is a good alternative. I will still run, but I'm not going to push myself to run 5 miles a day, because I don't necessarily think that's the best for me personally. So there's, it's interesting you asked that because have you heard of the blue zones? So they're the people groups around the world that are the healthiest and longest living. And something that is common between all those groups is that they move naturally. So it's not necessarily that they have an exercise routine and they're out running and they're weightlifting and doing all that. Their lifestyle, they're constantly moving. Like, for example, in Japan, they sit on the floor. So they're constantly getting up and getting down. They're walking. They're having, they're going on walks with friends and family. They're gardening, things like that. But even in American culture, everything is for our ease, right? We have a remote for the TV so we don't have to get off the couch, right? So just even intentionally saying, okay, I'm going to store that thing that I like to have right by me just a few feet away so I have to get up and go get it. Just things like that where we're just moving our body naturally and we're taking small steps if we need to start with those small steps just to get moving, even in a natural way. Yeah, running in place. Gardening is another one of my favorites. My kids and I spend hours outside in the garden during the summertime, and sometimes it's not as requiring as much energy. Sometimes we're just picking or things like that. But the preparing the beds, planting, all of that, you're still getting out and moving and you're getting good exercise. So gardening, it's a fun hobby, and you're also growing the fuel that you need, right? You're growing those good plants. I love summer cooking because you have all those fresh veggies and you can make so many amazing things and get exercise while you're doing it. So walking is a great exercise. Just moving naturally is really great. The other thing, though, that's good to have is a balance between types of exercise. So you want the aerobic exercise that's getting your heart rate up. That's really, really important to have that. They say, it tells me here, get at least 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity or 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic activity a week. So 150 minutes, 7 days, what is that? How many minutes a day? My brain is not working fast with math right now. 22 minutes a day, okay? And it can be broken up. It's better to move than not to move. So if you only have 5 minutes at a time, take those 5 minutes at a time and do it 4 times throughout the day. But the other thing that's good is to balance it with strength training. Excuse me. I just need to get myself a napkin. My nose. So the aerobic is really important, but then your anaerobic, your strength training is also important. And this is my weak point. I love to run. I love to get out and move, but I do not like to lift weights. I do not like to sit inside and do my squats and all of that. But I need to, especially right now, because after pregnancies and C-sections, my muscle tone is not where it should be. So I need to start that and be disciplined to do that a little bit every day. My husband, he gets a great balance at work. He's hiking up the mountain and then cutting down trees and doing he gets a good balance just at work, but I don't. So I need to throw in that strength training as well. This is true, right? I need more, though. I need to get that muscle tone back because that's important. Okay. Thank you. But the other thing that people don't talk about a lot with exercise is flexibility. That's actually really important. So when you're sitting watching TV, do a little bit of stretching. It is important, though, not to stretch cold muscles too much. So like when I was in cross country and track, we would do a quick run around the track, warm up our muscles a little bit, and then start stretching because you can injure your muscles if you stretch them cold. But this is one of the things that stuck with me from PE class in college is your lower body flexibility is actually a huge part of helping your posture and your back and your neck muscles. So if you can just stretch those legs a little bit and get that lower body flexibility, it may actually help with your back and your neck as well. So aerobic, strength training, but don't forget the stretching. After you've gone for a walk, just do a few little stretches. Your muscles are warmed up. Get that flexibility going too. So that's what I have to share about exercise. I know there's so much more. There's studies, there's statistics, but the bottom line is it's really good for you. It's really important, and it will help to improve a lot of aspects of your health. And that outdoor exercise, we're going to touch more on the sunshine and fresh air because those are letters in New Start as well. So you'll hear about those later on. Thank you all so much for coming tonight and for participating. It was enjoyable. I enjoyed having you. Do we have more questions?
So
Yes.
just as a testimony as well, like Charles was saying, I was Marine Corps for the longest time. After the Marine Corps, they, with a little bit of PTSD, they try to put you on sleeping meds. They try to put you on anxiety medication and things like that. With being active and changing my diet, I'm happy to say that I no longer take any medication whatsoever. Like I said last week, I no longer have plantar fasciitis. I can get up and I can run and be with my kids, and we live a pretty active diet, especially with our own family and our church family. When the weather is warm, when the weather turns to start getting a little warmer, we're always hiking, and that's just a nice walk through the woods with our friends. And it's not too vigorous, but it's enough to really get you what you need. So
Wonderful. Heidi, thank you so much. This has been absolutely wonderful, and the food was awesome. Who enjoyed the food? Can we get a show of hands?
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all your hard work.
Thank you, Sarah.
So we have these flyers that are online for those of you who need it, but also we have them here. So if you have enjoyed this and you would like to come, our next one will be in 2 weeks on January 30th. Kate, our 13th. Let me try that again. I'm sorry. Today is January 30th. The next one is going to be February 13th. So it's the day before Valentine's Day. Kate is going to be showing us some recipes that we can use to woo our lover and see if we can make a special lasagna and stuff like that for the ones we love. So I also have some handouts, though, if you want to take them with you. We've got a lot of new faces here tonight, so Put them up at work, give them to a neighbor, take them to a friend, someone that may want to join you. It's not too late to join the fun. If you are new tonight and you weren't here last week, we do have we've got, what are those things called? Folders over there with the information that was given out last time. And again, we just wanted to thank everyone for being here, and we look forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks. Yes? Yes, last week's is recorded, and it should be on our YouTube channel and Facebook. Yes, ma'am.